All right, you want to get into food plotting, you want to take your hunting to the next level, whether you're a beginner, whether you've been doing it forever. We're going to discuss, in my opinion, the ultimate food plot and the steps you need to take to optimize it and make it last for years. Here we go. What is the ultimate whitetail food source or food plot? There's a lot of debate about this. For us, our go-to, it has to be a clover field. If you look back through our history, and I'm talking 20, 25 years when we first started getting into food plots and food plot architecture, man, we have had so much luck in and around our clover fields. I mean, it's arrow after arrow going through deer on clover fields. Man, I'm telling you, there's no better magnet, no more economical food plot, and none that offers greater palatability. There's a lot of reasons why clover is the king of the hill when it comes to the ultimate food plot product. So when it comes time to establish a food plot, number one, we always pick the spot and then plant to that spot, whether that spot's a tree, whether it's a blind you're going to put up. And when it comes to planting clover, there's a couple different methods you can use. And it really comes down to your time and what you desire out of that field. You could plant in the spring. If you do, make sure you put a host crop with it, like rye or oats or wheat. And then once that all comes up and that host crop is there to shade out weed competition, you can go in and mow off that host crop, and then all you have left is the clover coming on. We like to use a host crop at anywhere from 20 to 30% rate, maybe as high as 50%. We'll put a full rate of clover, which is probably 8-9 pounds of the acre, and then we'll put a host crop in of 20, 25, 30 pounds of the acre. The other way to do it is the way we prefer to do it, which is in the fall. We'll go in and plant a fall product. We like Last Bite from Biologic. We'll add in a full rate of non-typical clover to our Last Bite. Also within Last Bite, you've got that host crop the next spring to shade out those weeds. We've had excellent luck putting Last Bite in with a full rate of clover in the fall, usually mid-August, coming back in, frost seeding just a little bit in the winter, and then the next spring it comes on, man. You go in and you mow off that host crop that's shading out all those weeds, and you've got a fantastic clover field. To us, that's the best way to establish a new planting. Any food plot, whether it be beans, corn, clover, fall brassica, the best way that you can expect success, not only in it growing, also palatability, take a soil test. Make sure you know what you're starting with that soil. Get your soil right first and foremost. Talk to your local co-op. They'll help you get the right nutrients into that soil to make sure that you can maximize or optimize the performance of that product.
So the first thing we do every year is send in a soil sample to the Biologic Labs down there in Tennessee. Go on their website, you can buy a soil test. On that's going to be your soil pH, which is very important, as well as what micronutrients and macronutrients are in your soil. And then you can also add in what crop you're going to be planting. In this case, it would be clover, and they'll give a recommended fertilizer analysis for your bulk fertilizer if that's how you can apply fertilizer. Clover likes a pH that's really neutral, somewhere between 6 and 7. So if you're low in that, if you have more acidic soil, you're going to need to add some ag lime, or if you can't get ag lime, pelletized lime. We like to go with a 0-20-40, go with somewhere between 300 and 400 pounds an acre. Clover is a legume, or it's a nitrogen fixing plant, so you don't need to actually add any nitrogen into your fertilizer. If you put some nitrogen on it, it's not going to hurt it, but it's not necessary. With that being said, when establishing your clover plot, putting that seed in the ground, we like to go in and use Deer Grow Plot Start. So when that plant starts to grow, starts to throw roots out, it's going to give it a real nice shot of nutrients, get it up and growing really quick. Another product we like to put on our clover is Deer Grow Plot Boost. We like to put that on twice a year, once later in the spring, right before you're going into the summer months. And then going into the fall, typically right before deer season, we like to go and mow ours, wait about 4 or 5 days, wait for a rain to come in and hit it with Plot Boost again. That's just going to give it a shot of nutrients there right before deer season. It's going to make sure that new growth is as tender as possible and optimize palatability, so hopefully you can kill a big old buck on it. So make sure you do your soil samples and fertilize your clover to make sure it's as healthy as possible.
This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by the new specially designed, lightweight, and durable Tenzing Day Pack. Go further, hunt longer, Tenzing.
You know, one tool that we utilize 365 days a year is our tracker off-road. We love the thing, whether it's hauling deer out or hauling us to a stand. There's so many different uses that you could have out of a side-by-side. It has the dump bed, so we've hauled gravel in the dump bed. but our favorite thing to haul is obviously big bucks in the fall. We just use it all year round. Another time that it's a huge asset to us is in the spring. We use our tracker about 100% of the time when it comes to spraying fields. Anything from a clover field all the way to a corn field. It gets us from spot to spot faster. We don't have to take the slower tractor. We're able to get there, at a higher speed, get to our spot, spray it, move on to the next spot. So it's very quick, very convenient, and we love our tracker off-road.
When it comes to maintenance of clover, one of the key things that we've learned, spray in the spring, spray in the fall. Keep those grasses set back. Start clean, stay clean. Because one thing about a clover field, you want this to last several years. We like to wait till it comes up, gets a little tall in the spring. We'll clip it off so everything's the right height at about 8 to 10 inches. Then we come in and spray it about a week later when that grass pressure and those weeds are coming on.
So when it comes to spraying our clover fields, the first thing we look at is what we're gonna spray on broadleaf weeds. And there's two things I like to spray on broadleaf weeds in clover. One of them is IMOX, the other one is Butirac 200. Those two chemicals you can mix in your spray to kill your broadleafs in your clover. When it comes to killing grasses in your clover, you can mix in chemicals that have clethodim in them. That is a grass killer that will not hurt your clover, and there's a couple different products you can use. There's Cleanse, there's also Section 3. Those are two different products that are going to have clethodim as the leading ingredient that is going to kill the grasses in your clover fields. And lastly, in that clover spray, we add in either Waypoint or some kind of non-ionic surfactant to help get the spray out and get it to stick to the plants better. And depending on how big your clover plots are, like ours averaging 1/2 acre to 2 acres in that range, you can use DeerCast maps, figure out the plot size, figure out how much spray that you need to order so that you can have the right amount to put on those clover fields.
When it comes to maintenance on the clover fields, we've talked about a few different things. Mowing is also very important. That can set broadleafs back, but I think it's important not to mow clover too much. We always mow it very high so that that clover continues to shade out and hold as much moisture as you possibly can in the ground. Because one thing about clover, oftentimes in the summer, it will go dormant. And we like our clover fields to stay green if we get enough moisture. One way we've achieved that is mowing it much higher and keeping that ground shaded out so you control and keep as much moisture in the ground as you possibly can. You don't want to mow clover too much because you're compacting that ground, and sometimes you can set that clover back, especially if you have a dry forecast in front of you. It's the last thing we want to do is go in and mow it, get dry, and then all of that clover kind of dries up. So we really do look at the forecast. We try to mow just ahead of a rain so that it gets clipped, gets watered, and then it'll grow and shade out and keep that moisture and reduce that compaction. Now let's join Wade down in Missouri as he's clipping a few clover fields.
We're coming in, gonna do a little mowing today. We got the mower hooked up and we're gonna get after these clover fields. They're getting pretty tall. Some weeds and grass are coming up in them. And we actually waited 3 to 5 days after we had a little bit of moisture, because one thing that we don't wanna do is compact the soil if the ground's a little bit moist. These clover fields like that airy soil. We actually come in and aerate each of our clover fields probably every 2 years and poke holes in the ground, allow that soil to be a little bit more airy and not so compacted. Seems like it blows that clover out of the ground that much more. So, a lot of guys like to go in and mow their clover super low. If you mow it too short, then the deer get on it, you don't get much more rain, and then it just goes to dirt. So we like to keep our clover nice and lush. However, we don't want it to get too tall and beyond palatability. Each time you come in and mow it, that new growth comes on, and we like to give it a good clean mowing about 5 to 7 days right before season starts, and they are on it heavy opening day. Well, this field has historically been great. I've killed deer on this particular field opening day or the day just after, right there around that first week of season, 2 if not 3 years in a row. It's a big clover field here. We'll put radishes right here in front of the blind, leading out into what used to be a bean or a cornfield. They just transferred it to an alfalfa field. So we actually had Dakota come in, build a pond last year. This year it's finally brim full, so we're excited to see how it all plays out with the new pond and the alfalfa being planted beyond on the neighbors where they head out to their big destination field. I think this coming fall, it could be on fire at that muddy blind.
When I think of clover, I think of it in two different facets. Number one is that a hidey hole, that's a small plot because that's all Mother Nature gives you in terms of where can I put a plot here. That's a great product to put in a hidey hole. Deer come out, they'll use it all summer, they'll use it into the fall. Great killing all the way up really till Thanksgiving around us, and if it's a warm fall, on into Christmas. I also like to use them as a destination feed field in an area that is too slopey. I don't want to plant a bean field or a corn field because I'm big on soil erosion and making sure that we conserve the soil we have. In those cases, we'll put a big clover field in, and then we'll also carve out a football field sized product like radishes to where they're using that clover field all summer, they stage there, and then they finish on the shady side of the field generally, right on that radish field. So those two equations, number one, small plot, hidey hole, tucked into a bedroom. Number two, destination food source, and then another food product right next to it. It absolutely works. Radishes, clover, those two combined, those are the two tops in terms of palatability for white-tailed deer. Give it a try, give a clover field a try. I think it can really make a difference in your hunting.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV is brought to you by DeerCast, the most advanced deer movement predictor ever.